Vince Beiser is an award-winning journalist and author. He's reported from over 100 countries, states, provinces, kingdoms. His latest book is Power Metal, The Race for Resources That Will Shape the Future. It's an investigation into how materials that we need for digital technology and renewable energy are causing environmental havoc, political unrest, mayhem, murder, and how we can do better.
I need the microphone. Can you guys all hear me okay? Yeah. Thanks to the Worker Agency for pulling this together. So I got started about 6 years ago. I got myself an electric car, and I felt so virtuous. I felt like, here I am. I'm doing my part to save the world. Sad to say, I'm a journalist, which means it's my job to find out about, what's kind of going on behind the scenes, right? And I've done a lot of reporting about physical materials that go into building the stuff that make our lives possible. So I started looking into it, and I was horrified to discover that, in fact, to get the metals, the materials that we need to build electric cars like that, rainforests are being cut to the root, rivers are being poisoned, children are being put to work, warlords are getting rich. As it turns out, there's a terrible paradox involved in electric, not only electric cars, but also the machinery of renewable energy. And that's mainly because all of those things are made out of metals. They're made with billions of tons of very specific metals. In some places, there's also really serious cost to human beings, too. More than 2/3 of all the world's cobalt comes from one country, Democratic Republic of Congo, where thousands of children are working in the mines. So the question is, how can we transition to renewable energy without trashing the planet in the process? And the number one answer, the thing people like to say the most, is recycling. Everything comes with cost. Everything has its own downsides, recycling included. And it turns out, especially when you're talking about recycling metal, it's incredibly energy intensive, right? It means lots of carbon emissions. It's used to have lots of pollution, and it's often done on the backs of the poorest people. But the number one thing that we as individuals can be doing, if you're really concerned about this stuff, is this. Don't buy a car, not even an electric. So if we can reduce demand for cars, we can have fewer cars, that will do more than any other single thing to reduce the demand for these metals that we're talking about, and it'll also reduce the amount of energy. So a really crucial part of electric cars and renewable energy is figuring out ways to build our cities and to live our lives in ways that don't require you to own a car. Obviously, we need to make the switch to renewable energy. We need to switch to renewable energy and electric cars. How we get the metals, the materials for that switch, how much of them we really need are super important. Every single one of them, every one of those choices will entail a cost. Nothing comes for free. Some will cost much more than others. But the good news is we're just at the beginning of this transition, right? We're still in really early days. And if we're careful and if we're thoughtful, we can pull off this energy transition without repeating the worst mistakes of the last. Thanks for listening.